Hi guys, Sarah here from Highland Haven Australian Shepherds and Highland Haven Dog Training, and welcome to Season 4, Episode 3 of
Two.
Dog...
Oh, you're right, it is 3. Never mind. You want to start?
Episode 3 of Dog for Thought. Joining me is my co-host, daughter, and dog trainer extraordinaire, Sophie.
Hi, everyone.
How are you, Soph?
Good.
Yeah, what's going on? Give us an update.
Dogs are doing good. We have Nessie, who is now named Penny, downstairs with us, which is really fun. She is a lovely little puppy.
Who is she?
She's Nessie.
I know, but you got to tell them what litter it's from.
Oh, this is from the previous litter, so the most recent litter.
She's a little red merle female.
Yeah, she's about 13 weeks.
Something like... No, well, I think she might be 13 weeks. She's going to be exactly 3 months tomorrow.
Okay.
She lives in Connecticut with a very nice couple. They had a European trip scheduled prior to deciding they were going to get a dog. So this was previously planned. So they arranged with us to bring her back while they're on their fancy trip. So she's going to be with us for 2.5 weeks. And she's going to be getting some training while she's here. She's doing great. She's kind of dorky looking. She's got these long back legs like her mama.
And these big old adult ears.
Big old ears, which I hope stop growing. I hope she grows into them. Her ears
so
have grown,
big.
but the rest of her have not grown. So she's really kind of awkward looking, but super cute. And I have to say this we've never used this stud before. But he produces just incredibly sweet, lovely puppies who housebreak so easily.
And they listen really well to corrections and just move really nicely through the pack without any issues.
She's quite soft, but not unconfident and submissive. She just is very soft and biddable. Mm-hmm. Just a love, a sweetheart.
Yeah, she's super cute. She just went on her first walk. We just got back and she did amazing. She was walking so nicely on the leash. Mm-hmm. She's going to be a lovely little dog.
Yeah, she's been easy. She's been you've been off for 2 days away, so I've had her myself for the 2 full days, and she's slept overnight in the bedroom in the crate beautifully, and she hasn't had any housebreaking accidents, and she's played really nice with the pack. I find that it's kind of, since we've had so many puppies move in and out of the pack over the last 6 months, I see the same sort of pattern. Like Deacon has to give a really harsh correction at some point, but it's a fair correction. It's a little bit hard, but he was just laying there minding his business, and she walked over and was sniffing his junk, all up in his junk. And I'm sure he growled and she didn't listen, and she just kept on sniffing, and he scared the crap out of her. Just went, roar, 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 and she went, ah, and then ran across the room. But important for him to establish his boundaries and what the consequences are if you don't listen. And he doesn't hurt them. It always makes me jump 10 feet in the air, but now she treats him very deferentially.
Well, and I think it's really nice to have a group of dogs that are very well trusted with socializing a new puppy, because when they go up to another adult dog that may not correct them fairly, they know what to do and what to look for. And
Sure.
Even I had her outside briefly playing fetch with Twiggy, and it's that herding instinct comes out when you play fetch and one of the dogs has the frisbee and is running back to you, and the puppies are chasing behind the adult dog with the frisbee to nip that ankles. It's very primitive, very Aussie thing to do. And she did that 2 times to Twiggy, and Twiggy dropped the frisbee and looked at her, and then she stopped, and then Twiggy picked up the frisbee and went back up the hill. And then the 3rd time she corrected her pretty intensely, and then she stopped doing it, and they just ran around. She's like, I don't want you not to chase me. And Twiggy engaged with her, was like, you can chase me, just don't bite my ankles.
Just don't touch me.
Yeah, just don't touch me.
Which is completely acceptable.
Totally acceptable.
Totally acceptable boundary.
Yeah,
again, Twiggy, although I think she can correct overly enthusiastically at times, she's not. I always have to remind myself, she's such an intense dog. But I always have to remind myself, she's never hurt another dog.
No.
Even when she's gotten in fights with them, she's not a very good fighter.
No, she's not at all. I tend to pick bitchy females who do not know how to fight. They talk a good game, but then when it comes down to it, they always end up with like more punctures than anyone else.
So Twiggy's been great with her, and she's, of course, a 13-week-old puppy, so she likes to play super intense, and Twiggy's all for that. You know, sometimes Twiggy gets a little overstimulated, and you have to step in and tell her to take a time out. But she's been really good with her, too. And, of course, Journey and Tula love her.
Yeah.
Love Penny. And they, you know, Journey in particular is very happy to have her daughter back to play, which not all moms are. So she really likes this little one, which is nice.
Yeah.
But very different looking than the spring litter, which was from a much stockier pair, mom and dad. And we did have, what was her name? Smokey? I think that was her puppy name.
Her puppy name was Smokey. Now she's Marley.
Marley. She came back for some boarding.
Yep.
And
with her sister Bowie, and
which we did not breed.
Yeah, we didn't breed, but they were so cute. So 2 peas in a pod. We had so many Aussies outside; it was amazing. And then Chico came over for a play date, so we had Smokey and Chico for a play date in the back end. Chico is huge. Oh my god,
he's like as big as Ty already. He is enormous.
Yep.
I don't know where that came from.
I don't know. And Turtle is coming back Friday.
Turtle was Roddy from the March litter. He's coming on Friday for some boarding.
And he doesn't look as big. I mean, we'll see when he gets here. But like the photos that he sent us, he does not look that big. So I don't know what happened to Chico. He got that big gene.
Well, you know, the females carry the big gene, and so I guess that came through Evie.
And Smokey's not even that big either. Well, Marley's like very typical Aussie size.
I have to say something about Marley, though. It's taken me 11 years to get to that dog. Like, I look at Marley, and that is the epitome of an Aussie that I've been pursuing for 11 years.
Yeah. Evolution.
I love her stockiness. I love her coat. Her coat is beautiful. I love her coloring. I love her temperament. I love everything about that dog. She is really, I think, really stunning. She's just a lovely dog, but also just stunning. Yeah. So, you know, it takes a while to usually get to where you want to go.
All of Evie's, that whole litter of.
Yeah, we'll see how Turtle looks. He looks really gorgeous in the pictures. I'm sure he's going to be beautiful, and Chico's gorgeous too. Very big, and kind of an obnoxious adolescent boy dog, which it is.
Well, I mean, that sounds like...
But very sweet, very loving.
Very loving. And it sounds like Turtle's like that, too, with the...
Yeah, boys are a little different.
Yeah, boys are a little funny. But we'll see, because I know you were talking briefly about keeping a stud dog, if possible.
Yeah, so I think Turtle's dad would like to keep him intact, and I would like to use him as a stud if he looks as beautiful as I think he's going to look. Yeah. So I'm excited for him to come back this weekend, and we're going to repeat that breeding with Evie and that same stud, Teddy.
But they made really nice dogs. Yeah. And it's like the perfect stockiness, really nice temperament. Yeah, there was a nice litter. The only difference between that litter and Journey's litter is they were a dirty group.
Yes, they were.
They were dirty.
They were not as easy to take care of in that way, for sure.
They were dirty. They were little
And I'm going to use this same stud that for the June litter. I'm going to use that same stud. Obviously,
Tula.
Journey's retired. She's been spayed. She's retired. But I think that stud, although maybe doesn't produce the same gorgeous dogs, produces outstanding temperaments. And of course, what?
You're going to use Journey's stud on Tula?
Maybe Tula. But we're going to use him again at some point.
Yeah, he's not a fully an adult. Like, he's like a young man, so he hasn't filled out yet. So he's a bit dorky looking, but he has
a nice long coat. So I think the puppies are going to have a nice coat.
And he has a nice booty cheek. Him and Tula's booty cheeks will be the best booty cheeks ever.
I just think even if he doesn't produce what I consider physically,
gorgeous,
visually the ideal Aussie in my mind, the puppies from that litter had just such lovely temperaments.
They're like a great starter Aussie for
really,
people.
really lovely. Yeah. So we'll use him again at some point. We'll decide with who. We have.
The problem is he just has a lot of white. That's the only thing I don't like about him.
I don't like the excessive white.
Yeah.
and he produces very light colored litters.
And Tula has a lot of white on her face.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Maybe him and Evie, they'll be kind of big puppies. They're all legs. They'll be all legs.
Well, he's small though.
Taller than Journey.
He must be small because that litter is tiny. I mean, Penny's really small.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the update in the house. Everybody's doing good. So maybe we should get on with the show.
Yeah, good.
All right, so we thought we would talk today about dog behaviors that have a scientific name. This is my dog trainer nerd lesson. Like, I'm just a nerd for dog behavior. And although, and I talk about this all the time, about how I've been doing this for like 40 years at this point. And 40 years ago, a lot of these behaviors were not identified scientifically, studied and identified and named, right? But it's not that they weren't there. We knew they were all there. And I continually, I will see a behavior and think, oh, yeah, that's a normal behavior. And then I come to find out that it has an actual name. That always cracks me up. I mean, most of the the things that apply specifically to training, we know, right? Because we're professional trainers and we're educated and all that. But like some just hang around the house behaviors have names too.
Or like just things that, we've always had acknowledgement of and just named it some random name. Oh, when a dog does this? And we've just like have always kind of known about it, but we didn't know it had like an actual official name with the definition and everything.
Right.
Which is crazy.
like what Meadow does, right? So Meadow nibbles with her front teeth on fabric. Right, that's called cobbing. So obviously they get the name from corn on the cob, right? Eating the cob. So she does that all the time. She doesn't destroy, she doesn't tear apart my bedspread, but she cobs on it every day. And it's like a pacifier. It's like a behavior that makes her feel good, right?
Well, and I thought cobbing also was like showing someone that you love them too. Like Meadow will cob the back of Vivian's neck a little bit.
Yes, it's an affection thing, right? Yeah. And I guess, maybe that came from initially like cleaning your puppies, right?
Or like an appeasement behavior.
Right.
From mother to like daughter or vice versa. Or from daughter to mother,
I mean, I think it's cute. There's no damage to it. Your dad hates it. I mean, he doesn't like it when she does it on his bedspread. But I'm like, she's not damaging anything. It makes her feel good.
Yeah.
What's the matter? So, that's just an example of like a silly behavior that we don't really need to know about as dog trainers. But we see, when we're around dogs. So let's get more. I have a whole list here next to me. There's a lot of them. Do you have any one in particular you want to start with that you can think of?
I think you've like all the ones I mentioned you already have on your list. So
okay. I think another one which I think everybody knows what a zoomie is. I assume zoomies. They usually occur in the evening. Like I always refer to it like a witching hour. Like you see this a lot in human toddlers, right? Around 6 o'clock at night, they start to get real cranky. And sometimes puppies will start to do the zoomies, right? They'll start racing around your house or your apartment, jumping on the furniture and jumping down and being a nut. Or sometimes if you've just taken them for a walk, they come back in like Poppy's dog Maisie, the pug. She tucks her little curl tail under her button and does the zoomies and races all around the apartment. There's an actual official name for that. Did you know that?
I did not, and you told me it the other day. I don't remember, but I was like, what?
It's called FRAP, F-R-A-P, frenetic random activity periods, which is hilarious. Yeah. Like, really, that has a name? We all just thought it happened with certain dogs. So the zoomies is actually a scientifically studied and named behavior. Let's see. Let's do another one. I have here splitting behavior. We see this a lot. So that's when one dog will intervene between two dogs that are interacting in a way that makes them anxious. We see this a lot with
Meadow and Deacon and Twiggy.
We see it a lot with herding dogs because it's so natural for them.
Yes.
Right. So any behavior between two dogs that maybe makes Meadow in particular anxious, so it's getting a little heated or a little overstimulated, she'll walk in between them. Didn't you see that earlier with the puppy?
Yeah, so the puppy was giving Deacon kisses or something, and Deacon kind of gave her the eye, and Twiggy walked in between and lip licked in between Deacon and the puppy, and then the puppy hyper fixated on Twiggy, and Twiggy brought her over and then started playing with her.
Okay, so break that down for somebody.
So Deacon is saying, hey, I don't want that. Why are you doing that? I'm going to give you a correction if you keep doing that. And the puppy's like, but I love you so much. I love you. I'm trying to appease you. I love you. I love you. I love you. And Twiggy looks at Deacon and goes, don't you dare. She's just trying to tell you that she loves you. And then she...
Or more likely, I don't want to see him give her correction because it's going to make me feel some kind of way.
Yeah.
It's stressing me out that there's an imminent correction about to happen.
Mm-hmm. And then Twiggy's like, come with me. So she goes in between and essentially like
redirects her.
Yeah, redirects her to come over to her and she'll play with her.
So you and I do splitting behavior all the time.
Yeah. With training dogs?
Yeah.
Yes, all the time.
Right. So it's basically a redirection. And we encourage people to do that, particularly like in dog parks and stuff. Right. So if you see behavior starting to erupt between two dogs, stepping in between and splitting them up and redirecting both of them or one of them so that it doesn't escalate to a correction, particularly because a correction between two unknown dogs,
you don't know what's going to happen,
can be dangerous, right? We don't know how hard the one dog is going to correct, and we don't know how the dog who's receiving the correction is going to receive it, right? Are they going to back down, or are they going to double down and go and then cause a fight?
So a great example is if you watch Cesar Millan, he does that and he like pokes the other dog. Essentially, that's what it is. It's just, you can do that without doing all that. You can just literally walk in between the dog.
Right.
And just like, come here. And you're just pulling the attention away from the dog that is pestering the other dog.
Diffusing and redirecting.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about this a lot with people in dog parks, which is why dog parks and dog daycare makes us so deeply uncomfortable. We get that question a lot. Like sometimes people will send us videos of their dog in a dog park interacting and asking us, is this okay behavior? And my answer is usually no, depending on what the video is showing. And, you know, we encourage people, you need to be watching for that and you need to walk between. Really, most of the time, if you just walk between them, it's such an instinctual thing, they will break off because splitting behavior is a normal canine communication technique. I would say most people don't see the micro expressions and all that we see. And maybe not everybody is as nervous in dog parks as you and I are because we know what can happen.
Well, you know, I see very, very nuanced behaviors. And you either have the eye or you don't. Like, I think it's really hard to like learn to have the eye. But like a great example is when we're out in public and we're walking the dogs and I see two people have two dogs meet face to face, my immediate reaction, especially if they're pulling on the end of the leash with harnesses naturally put dogs in like a dominant position. The way it pulls their shoulders up, it makes them feel, it's like kind of like people say before going into like a business meeting, do the Superman pose to like bring that energy up. It's the same position. So when you're on a harness and your dog's pulling towards another dog, it puts this in a very dominant position, which therefore
which they're not necessarily thinking about, but the other dog is reading
it. And also like they're super excited to meet another dog coming in with super high energy, which could just set a dog off and to correct them, which is a reasonable correction because they're showing body language that is inappropriate. They're approaching inappropriately. They're approaching face to face. So anytime I see a dog approach face to face with harnesses on in particular, and on top of it being on a flexi leash where you have no control, I'm always ready to like run across the field and break up a dog fight or hear a dog fight. And
that's never actually really occurred to me that a harness makes that worse because it physically puts a dog's body in a position that's rude and provocative. That's actually never really occurred to me. That's a very good point.
Thanks.
You could talk about my sister, Jen, and my niece, Marty, your cousin, spent 5 days with us. They live on the West Coast. They came to visit us. And we were sitting in the living room, and there was an interaction between Tula and Vivi.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning. You took your shoes off, and Tula loves your socks. She doesn't chew your socks. She just carries them around. So it doesn't really bother us because
But she knows she's not allowed to have.
knows she's not allowed
So I
to
took
have
off
the
my
socks.
shoes, put my socks into my shoes, and put my shoes on the fireplace.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And we're all sitting in the on the couch, and I see Tula hyperfixate, like she's staring at the shoes. And Remy, she has dementia. And so she just walks by the shoes, and Tula flies off the couch and does appeasement stuff. She like goes in between the shoes and Remy and starts lip licking, like, those are my shoes, don't go by the shoes. But Remy, she doesn't know what's going on. She's just existing.
Right.
So then, of course, Remy forgets that entire interaction and walks by the shoes again, and then Tula escalates. And then that's when I say, Tula, knock it off. And then Tula shakes it off and comes back to sit on the couch, and Remy walks away. And then Vivian walks in, and Vivian doesn't know what's going on.
Okay, so just to be clear, Remy is on the very bottom of the pecking order in our house.
Yes.
She is the low woman on the totem pole. Vivi is the polar opposite. Vivi is the dominant female. You could make an argument she's the dominant dog in this hierarchy.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So then Vivian walks by, not knowing that entire interaction just happened. And Tula does the same thing, flies off the couch to do the appeasement thing for Vivian to resource guard the socks. And Vivian immediately corrects her and pins her to the ground. And Jen looks at us, and you and me synchronously say, that's what you get. Like at the same time we go, that's what you get.
Yeah, knock it off.
Knock it off. And Jen goes, what just happened? And then I like broke everything down. She goes, that literally all just happened in the past 5 minutes. And I was like, oh, yeah, you didn't see any of that? So like, people don't see the little nuances. Sure. And I think people are like, in the case of that, you could be like, oh, well, Vivian just attacked Tula for no reason if you didn't know everything that was going on.
And then you would likely yell at Vivian, right?
Yep.
Tell her to knock it off, maybe even remove her from the room. Mm-hmm. When in reality, she was in the right and Tula was being the nudge.
Yeah.
Right? Being inappropriate.
Yeah. Which is a lot of the times in our house, like if I'm not paying attention to something that goes on and then I turn around and like a little tiff happens, I try not to like pick someone to yell at because I wasn't paying attention to know what exactly happened.
Right.
So I encourage you guys to watch your dogs interact and see if maybe you can see some fine-tuned things, lip licking, splitting behavior, appeasement, belly rolls, and see if you can connect what's going on.
Yeah, I was thinking today something happened in the kitchen behind my back because I was on the computer and the dogs were all behind me. It wasn't an aggressive thing. It was just a flurry of interactions. And like you say, I didn't know the background, so I couldn't, redirect anybody or whatever. And I thought to myself, we should just have a camera in the kitchen because a lot of these behaviors, particularly when we have a puppy in the room, it's good to be able to go back in the camera and go, oh, okay, I see what happened there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we can roll this all the way back to splitting behavior.
Yeah. I mean, even like to kind of briefly talk about Deacon and Ty have been really, really good since they've been neutered. And we've had like no issues with them. The only time we really have issues with them is when a female's in heat because they know what it looks like. They know what it smells like. They just don't have the same drive anymore. They don't have that testosterone to turn them on.
So their drive was like a 10 out of 10 when they were intact. And now that they're neutered, it's like maybe a 3 out of 10.
Yeah.
When they're
sometimes a 5, depending like what part of heat that the female's at.
And I find that amping up, the leading up to actual heat cycle is sometimes the most challenging period because there's no physical red flag for us because there's no swelling, there's no discharge or anything like that. So you don't know that female's amping up into heat until you see a behavior like.
So you were sleeping.
Yeah, it was same room. So I was on the couch watching TV night, falling asleep, and I woke to Deacon on top of Ty, attacking Ty. Now Ty's 11, but he's an old 11. His back end is quite weak at this point. He's got quite a bit of arthritis because we think he had untreated Lyme for the first 4 years of his life prior to coming to us. But and Deacon is in his prime. Deacon's 6 and strong and in his prime. And now the fight is not fair at all. So I, leapt off the couch and grabbed Deacon by the collar because he's literally on top of Ty and they're literally having a fight. I started screaming and Deacon let go pretty quick. which goes to show how they're on a 2 or a 3 out of 10, not a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, because 10 out of 10.
Because if they were a 10 out of 10, he would not have let go.
Nope.
And then by this time, I hear Jacob pounding down the stairs, and even your dad woke up. I think you were out.
I was out.
And I had pulled Deacon off, and now that I'm holding Deacon by the collar, Ty staggers to his feet and then basically says to me, "All right, hold him still, Mom. Hold him still. I can get him now," and starts attacking Deacon's face.
Anyways, you got to make light of this when you live in a house of 8 dogs.
Because they haven't had any kind of incident in over a year, and it's been so lovely. Deacon has really mellowed.
You literally just mentioned it like 2 days prior, like how
he's
good
been
they were
so
doing.
Great. He's been much more trustworthy in the group. So I was so mad, and your dad went right back to sleep when I said, "It's fine, go back to bed." And Jacob came down, and he said, "Oh, we checked him for punctures. Ty had a puncture in his ear, at the base of his ear, not his ear leather. And Deacon had a puncture on his leg because he was on top of Ty. That was the only thing Ty could grab." And Jacob's like, "I'll go get the ointment, the antibiotic ointment, and we'll clean it up." And I said, "We're not cleaning either of these punctures because screw these 2 boys.
Yep.
Screw them. If they get infected, I'll deal with it then. But I am not." I was so mad. And, I was able to sort of brush it off, which I couldn't have done 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Like, I just shrugged my shoulders and I was, it is what it is.
Yep.
When you have a group of dogs, these things happen. I ended up crating Deacon for the night because once they are in that state, it stays for a while and they need to cool off.
Well, it's kind of like when you get in an argument or like road rage with somebody and then you're all triggered and everyone is like not driving.
Right. So it's dangerous to keep them in the group when they're in that state. So he went in the crate for the night. He spent the crate downstairs, the evening downstairs in the crate all night. And Ty came upstairs because, he's an old man. What was my point?
You told me about it.
Yeah, I was annoyed. I'm like, where the heck is this coming from?
And then I said, "Is Tula in heat?" Because I saw some blood the other day. And I didn't mention it because it was such a little bit of blood. There's no way. And then literally, like, you think Tula's going into heat.
Yeah, then they started, and that's the same resource guarding, right? So although I was sleeping, my guess is what happened was Tula probably walked by Ty, and he probably got up and went, "Ooh," like boys do when they smell female in heat, and then
Deacon does splitting behaviors. So when Ty does that, Deacon does try to diffuse it and does splitting behaviors.
Because he views Tula as his bitch, right?
Yeah, and he's the prime man of the house at this point, so you need to knock it off. But the thing with Ty is Ty knows when a female goes into season faster, and Deacon is better after season. So we always test our females if they're going into season soon and they're not showing anything, if Ty's interested. And then we know when females are 100% out of heat when Deacon's not interested anymore. That's true.
Which is a very long, it's like 2 months because that lead up to actual heat is silent. And these behaviors can happen. So he was basically resource guarding
Tula from Ty.
It's another case where then I'm like, well, we should have a camera in the living room.
I guarantee that's totally what happened.
But when Ty was like trying to hump Tula a couple days later, I was like, okay, she's going to heat. That made me feel so much better about the situation because it's completely acceptable for them to fight over a bitch in season. Not acceptable in that we want to live that way, but completely natural behavior. So that made me feel better.
Yeah. And the thing is I always get worried with when dogs get older. Sometimes it's very natural in like the wild and stuff to when you have a really old dog for them to all kind of
gang up on them and take them out.
Take them out because they're like a weak link.
I always worry about that. Yeah.
And so now that Ty and Remy are getting older, we really have to watch them with the group.
Like Twiggy really targets Remy sometimes.
Yeah, and I hate that because I'm like, you have enough enemies. You're lucky that this pack still allows you in the group. And you're going to target Remy. Are you kidding? And she's the bottom picking order. So leave her alone.
Remy doesn't start with anybody ever.
No.
Well, that's not true. She does harass Ty sometimes.
Yeah. That's and it's the biggest guy in the house.
Has a crush on him.
Yeah, whatever.
They did breed too, right?
Yes, they bred once. Yes. But anyways, so it's always just we always try to keep an eye and make sure that it's not that they're all picking on the older dog.
Yeah, that would make me more upset. So I'm glad that
there was actually a reason.
Looks to be just a heat cycle kind of a thing. And since then they've chilled out. We just have to go back to safety protocols.
Yep.
When we leave them unsupervised.
Yep.
So anyway, splitting behavior. We can talk about, along the same vein, we can talk about dog behaviors. We call them distance increasing behaviors and distance decreasing behaviors. Mm-hmm. So examples of distance increasing behaviors would be growling, barking, and lunging, right? I don't think that people see that and they think, it's aggression. That dog wants to get me and harm me. When in reality, 9 times out of 10, those are warnings that I'm uncomfortable and I don't want you to come close to me.
Yeah.
Right?
So like if you walk by your houses and there's that one dog that's like behind a fence and he's barking and growling and running back and forth on the fence. First of all, it's super rewarding. Second of all, he gets what he wants every single time, which is you walk past the house and then you walk away from the house. Right. So and that's being like, get away from my property. What are you doing? Get away. It's, it's kind of like that Karen that's yelling at you, get off my property. Blah, blah, blah. And then you reward them by walking away. So then they just keep doing
I never reward Karens.
Well, I know you don't, but I have to. So,
So, the growling, the barking, the lunging is, and many times a dog like that will shut down if you go near them. Not all the time. Mm-mm. Sometimes they'll escalate to actually biting you because they want space.
Or a lot of the times, like if you probably seen videos on Instagram where it's like barrier aggression, where like you have a gate and then it's closed and the dogs are fighting at the gate and then you open the gate and they just like walk away from each other. Right. So, it's similar to like that. It's like, get away from me. It's like this macho, like, get away from me, blah, 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 blah. But then when they're faced with actually having to do something about it, they just don't do it. I
think it's important though to define it as distance increasing behavior because sometimes people don't listen and the dog, sometimes the distance increasing behaviors are really subtle, like a person wouldn't even see them, right? Mm-hmm. Like lip licking could be, a bid for space, that kind of thing.
So I have a good example. Maisie, she is this toy Aussie that we trained and she did a lot of that. And she would do this very appeasement thing that people would be like, oh, she wants me to pet her, which is where she would lip lick and then roll on her belly and piddle a little bit. And rolling on her belly.
On her back. You always say on her back.
On her belly. Rolling on her back is a sign of I am
Depends
nothing.
on how, right?
Yes.
Is it a side back or is it completely belly up?
She does, depends. I guess it's completely belly up, correct? It's like this.
But when you go to pet her, she
piddles. So she doesn't want you to touch her in those moments. She's just being like, I'm not a threat. But that looks to us like an invitation. I'm not a threat. Right. And then people touch her and then she would scream back in the day. Right. And then we would explain, like the parents were like, we don't know what, like she asks for attention and then she pees and screams and we don't know why she does that. And then we have to break it down of like, this is actually her being like, please don't touch me. Please don't touch me. I'm nothing. I'm weak. I'm little. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Which if you look, when a dog is trying to appease a dominant dog, like they have these videos on Instagram of like a dominant dog and another dog goes over to them, makes themselves look small, and then they roll on their back and piddle, and then they crawl underneath them and roll on their back and piddle, and the other dog's snarling and licking their lips. Same thing. It's appeasement of like, I'm no threat. I'm sorry. I did whatever I did.
Right. But that the dog that's licking their lip and growling and showing teeth is a dog who's actually, the irony of that whole scenario is that the dog who looks like they're being aggressive is literally saying, just friggin' leave me alone, dude.
Yep.
You're making me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that sometimes triggers a less socially savvy dog, like say this puppy, right? With Deacon, that scenario you set up before. They get more, like lick, right? And Deacon's like, dude, just leave me alone. I don't like this, right? And then he would need to escalate to a correction to get that behavior to stop. So, like people, there are some dogs who are really socially savvy and some that are not. And then the majority are in between based on the situation. Like in some situations, I'm very smooth and socially savvy. In other situations, I may be nervous or uncomfortable and maybe say stuff that where you lay in bed that night and you think, oh, I carried a watermelon, that kind of thing, right? So it does, the interaction between dogs is not always perfect. Not every dog understands what's being said or is emotionally mature enough to stop the behavior when they're being asked to stop the behavior.
Well, and I think this is why we're very much like against daycare and dog parks, is because the dogs that go to daycare or dog parks go there because they do not have good social skills, and their owner says,
By and large.
we need to bring them here because they need to be socialized. When in reality, like, they don't have the best skills to be able to correct or tell a dog no, or overcorrect, or resource guard something that is
so let's define that a little bit. So you're saying that sometimes that most of the people who feel they need to take their dog to daycare or a dog park are people who have dogs who are higher energy, and they, quote, love to socialize and love this sort of chaotic Lord of the Flies environment, or at least they think they get something positive out of it. So unfortunately, dog parks and daycares tend to be a magnet for those types of dogs. So you have like this echo chamber of bad behaviors for a lot of the dogs that go there. If you have a dog who's really confident and chill and well behaved, you're not going to think to yourself, well, I need to send them to daycare for them to be happy.
Exactly. Right? Most of the time it's people who don't know what to do with their dogs, and the internet says, well, they need to be socialized.
Then there's this cycle in these where you have poor social skill dogs interacting with other dogs with poor social skills, and then all those poor social skills get enhanced and reinforced,
and then it turns into like a fight that didn't need to ever happen.
Or that dog just then has even worse social skills and then brings them into an interaction with a dog who is really intolerant of that, and then you can cause fights. So so those are distance increasing behaviors, and then you have distance decreasing behaviors. Examples of that in dog to dog would be like a play bow, right?
That border collie that we always pass on our walk that goes completely flat and makes themselves look small.
The pharaoh, not the pharaoh, the sphinx, position.
Yes.
That looks sort of aggressive to an untrained eye, but that is actually very much a distance increasing behavior. I'm not a threat. I'm not going to roll on my back because that would be unconfident and not a threat.
I'm unconfident and weak.
Yeah. Whereas a sphinx is, I'm confident, but I'm no threat to you. Come over. That's a great example of.
Every time we see that lady, the lady's like, "It's fine. These are trained dogs." Blah, blah. And we always have to like be like, "No, he's like actually being super socially savvy right now."
Yeah.
And she goes,
"But we're still not coming over."
No, we're still not. We don't say hi to any dog we don't know. Plus, they have that little white dog that is not socially appropriate and does socially distancing behaviors like barking and growling and lunging. So we don't ever go by her.
Ruby did that sphinx stuff a lot.
Yeah, she did
when she was younger.
Yep.
She was very good at inviting dogs over. She had pretty good dog to dog skills for new dogs until we parted, and then she would chase after them and bark.
Yeah, definitely an Aussie.
We can segue from distance increasing behaviors right into action prompts. That this is one that I think people probably don't know has a name. So a dog who wants you to behave in a certain way, i.e., give me attention, pet me. They'll come over and paw you, right? Or put their chin on your knee. Deacon does that a lot. Or lean up against you. All of those behaviors are called action prompts, right? They want you to act in a certain way. So I want you to give me attention or pet me. Or it could also be come over and drop a ball in front of you, right? That's called an action prompt.
Or jumping on you.
Or any of those things where I'm going to do something to prompt you to do what I want.
Or scratch at the door to go outside, and then you open the door for them thinking they have to go outside, and then they walk out and stare at the door and whine. And you're like, you just asked to go outside. No, that was an action prompt. So you can come outside and play with them.
Right, yeah.
So those are tricky because you got to make sure it's a behavior that you want. So Ruby, we thought it was really cute that she would paw us, and since we rewarded that at a young age, she did that all the way till the day she died.
That's a hard one because even if we don't reinforce it, people who are interacting with them will always reinforce that behavior. That's a really hard one.
I think jumping is too. Once they start jumping, it's really hard to get them to stop jumping. because they want to say hi to you. They want to come up and say hi to you.
That's going to be less 100% reinforced because people will back up and go, whoa, or, you know.
Yeah.
But a dog that comes over and puts their foot on you,
it's so cute.
Yeah.
But then
that's going to be 100%
annoying.
Reinforced by people who are interacting with them.
Yeah.
Tula and I have this little ritual at night. When I get in bed, she hops up on the bed.
Sorry, my bad.
She hops up on the bed along with the other dogs, but she lays right up next to me, and she puts her foot on my hand, and I play with her toes. I don't know why she likes that, but I like play with her toes or her foot, and then I stop and I put my hand down, and then she pokes my hand with her paw and like, keep doing that, and I'll do that again. So it's like this little back and forth that we have that goes on for a few minutes.
Or the
yeah, that's just emotion.
Oh man, it's just so much things to say.
All right, so let's see what else. Oh, here's the one that you love: learned irrelevance.
Yes, I love.
You want to explain that one?
So learned irrelevance is if you ever call your dog's name and they just decide not to come, or if you ask your dog to sit and then they don't sit, they've learned over a period of time that they don't have to do it, and you won't reinforce it.
So that's cue is irrelevant. So the technical definition is when a cue is ignored because it was never associated with a consequence, right?
So a lot of people will come to us and be like, oh, he doesn't listen to when I call him. And your first answer is stop calling him. And they're like, what? And it's if you call them and they don't come, now you have to actually go outside and get them and bring them in as a consequence. If you're not willing to give them a consequence when you recall them, then it will become learned irrelevance because
it'll be irrelevant to them because and you've literally taught them to not come when called. So when we have a training dog in our enclosed outside area, who when I call them, like, you know, we'll call them and there'll be 6 dogs out there. I'll call them, it's time to come in, guys, and 5 dogs will come running in. And then there'll be, usually it's a new dog. And they'll be out there like, no, I don't want to come inside, right? So because it's an enclosed, fenced-in area, all I have to do is pursue that dog around the fenced-in area. I just pursue them. It makes them deeply uncomfortable.
Yeah, it really does. They're like, wait.
They run away from you, but it makes them really uncomfortable. Like, what is this dude doing? And I'm like, you got to come when I call you.
When we say pursuing, we do not mean chasing after them and yelling at them and being like, come here, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Like I think like most people do when dogs don't come when called. We just speed walk after them and are very persistent, and we have no expression on it. We're not mad. We're not upset. We have no expression on our face. When they stop, we stop, and then like it's very much so like, yeah, it's like pursuing. Like,
it makes them deeply uncomfortable.
It makes them uncomfortable.
And then what
like,
I do periodically is I stop and I call them again. Come here, come on, come on. And I look for the wheels turning, right? And sometimes they'll just make this tiny little movement, micro movement towards you. And then you mark it with, yeah. And you try to, so what I'm doing is I'm indicating, I'm going to keep walking after you until you come when I call you. And it works incredibly well. Of course, it only works in a fenced-in area, right? And what they learn very quickly is when I say, it's time to go in, you come inside. The worst case scenario, it takes 3 times to teach them that. That's a really extreme case. Most of the time, I can do that once to them, and the next time I call them, I can see the wheels turning and I can see them coming towards me, and then I make a big fuss about how wonderful they are, and then they get cookies. After that, they all come when called.
And it's interesting, like sometimes the learned irrelevance it will only affect you, and they'll listen to me, or vice versa. So like when Bowie, which is Marley's sister, was here, she didn't come for training with us. So like a lot of the times dogs will come back for boarding, and they know the routine. They know that they're not supposed to do whatever. Either they've tried it before, or they just know that it's a time to go inside. But because Bonnie never did any formal training with us, she was just boarding with us.
Not Bonnie.
Bowie. Why did I say Bonnie? I guess we were talking about Bonnie before. Anyways,
Anyway.
Bowie, that a couple, she would not, I am the fun player. Like, I go outside and we do activities together, and I think she associated me with fun.
Yeah, I want to stay out there and continue to play ball.
Have fun because I have fun with you. Where like you're not that. You go out, you just sit out there with them.
Yeah, and
you
I let them
anything.
play.
Yeah,
I sit out there like a mom who's had a second child.
yes.
I had that second child to play with the first. Go play.
Yeah, where like I'm not. I'll play with them. So she learned that she could just not do it with me. So I did a mixture of pursuing her, and then she had the long line on for a period of time. So then when she did do that, I just stepped on the long line, reeled her in, because I can get within 10 feet of her.
Right.
And then we just walked inside, and it was very just like, I'm not mad at you. I'm not upset. We're just walking inside, and you're going right in your kennel, and that's that.
She also didn't like to go in her kennel. She did that for me, but not for you.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
Yeah.
Because normally, well, you always spend way more time with the dogs than I do. That's just the way our business is set up. I do more of the dealing with new clients and
the books
bookkeeping and
and
stuff like
yeah.
that. So most of the time they'll listen to you quicker and more consistently than me because you've worked with them more. But in this case, I think you're right in that Bowie saw you as a, let's go out and play, man. Let's go play. I don't want to go in a kennel. For me, she was like, well, I'm not missing anything outside because that lady just sits there.
Which is also interesting too, because she also hated to be groomed, and multiple times I put her on the grooming table just to like get her desensitized and to brush her out and stuff, because I was grooming her. And so if I can like make it into like small little sections, it's not super overwhelming doing all at once. So I think it was a combination of like, I want to play, but also like, you're not fun because sometimes you bring me inside in the middle of playing and groom me. So yeah, it's interesting. And I love like kind of, even though it's like annoying behavior, it like betters your understanding.
Sure.
And
Well,
makes you
so we
think
took
and
a cue that could have created a learned irrelevance, right? And we turned it around. And we do that with, most of our dogs come with a complaint. Well, they don't come when called. And we have to right away convince them that that's actually not irrelevant when I call you.
Yeah.
This is a rule.
And this is like, whenever we talk about our business model, it's like, it's so nuanced. Like, I don't like when we have like, we always tell our clients, like we have one training session, which is like, it's like 10 to noon, where we actually do like more formal training. We take them on a walk, we do sits and downs and stuff. And it's more like
during
rigid.
the day. We have one formal structured training session.
And then everything else is like very organic. Like we're just like cleaning or interacting or playing ball or whatever. And when we talk about like nuances that we don't consciously think about, I feel like this is one of them. Like whenever we call them inside and then like reward them for coming inside, like that is a nuance that we don't think about. Like,
right.
And same thing was when they don't come when called. It's like, okay, cool, I'm going to mark that. And now you're going to get a long line put on you. And you have to run around with a rope on you.
Right.
And that means you might get stuck places and not be able to like have the full amount of play because you have a line on you. But like also you need to come when called. There's not an option.
And once they accept the rules, they're fine with them.
Yeah.
Because
So like,
they're not mean.
No. Like, and with Bowie, I had the long line on her, I think 2 or 3 times, and then she was like, oh, this is not fun, and then she just started coming in when called, and it wasn't a big deal. So
Clarity.
Yeah.
So the other thing that works in our favor when we have a group of dogs and maybe one is a new dog or like Bowie doesn't know the rules, having the other dogs respond sometimes will override that learned irrelevance that maybe that dog had, or just their unwillingness to come inside for whatever reason. So that's called social facilitation. Dogs are more likely to perform a behavior when other dogs are present, particularly when those other dogs are performing the behavior you're asking for. So calling the group of dogs, you got 5-6 dogs out there, and 5 of them run up the hill and come inside. And P.S., I am always giving them cookies. When they go in their kennel, they get a little handful of kibble. Everybody gets a little handful of kibble. So it's, they do earn it. They should earn a reward for coming.
And they did come inside, and each one of them went in their kennel.
Yeah, and they stopped doing something fun to go do something unfun. So they deserve a reward for that.
Absolutely.
But the social facilitation of the other 5 dogs running in encourages that dog, either teaches them like, oh, is that what that means, or will sometimes override their reflex to not respond when called.
Yes.
Right?
So I have 2 examples. I think to go back to Bowie, is she did that the first, I think she stayed with us for like 2 weeks
Something like that.
Or 10 days, I don't know, something. But like the first couple of days, she came inside and went right in her kennel because she's like, it's a new place. I don't know the rules, so I better follow what everyone else is doing.
And then she got comfortable.
She got comfortable, and then that's when you start seeing the behavior come out. And that's partly why we do like a 3-week board and train. Is like the first week is them getting comfortable, and then the second week is them kind of pushing those boundaries and us giving them rules and structures of, okay, no, this is what we do, and giving them more obedience, and it's more we're a lot more strict week 2, and then week 3 is just consistency.
Right. So just following up on all that.
Second part, what I was going to say is today when I was outside playing fetch with Twiggy and Penny, I know they briefly said like they're having issues with like recall and stuff, and she's also 13 weeks, so like I just don't want it to become learned irrelevance. So when I would throw the frisbee for Twiggy, I knew she was going to chase her down the hill, and I knew she would come back and follow her back. And every time she was coming back, since she was moving back, I would be Penny, 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 and mark it as her name. And when she would come in, I would play with her and rough with her, and then I would send her back out again, right? So just because you come to me doesn't mean we're going to go inside and be boring. So it's a balance of you can come to me and go back and play, and you can come to me and sometimes we go inside. So when you're working,
so that's sort of like working backwards, right? You know a behavior is going to occur. So you're going to add the command that goes with that behavior because it's already occurring, right? And you're going to make that association then. It's a really non-confrontational, fun way for a dog to learn things if they're naturally doing them.
Yeah. Does that have a name?
I'm sure it does. But there's another one that I wanted to... well, we can sort of talk about the Premack principle. The Premack principle... we use all the time in dog training. So that's from the scientist Premack, I don't know, 100 years ago or whatever. Using a high probability behavior to reinforce a lower one. So in other words, you can chase the ball, but only after you sit.
Yes.
Right? So in order to get that sit, we're going to use the high probability behavior of you and running to get the ball. So we use that all the time. People use that all the time, and they don't even think about it. It's such a natural...
And what that specifically works on is impulse control. So a lot of the times if you have a dog that's really, really toy driven and you want to work on like skills like sits and downs or coming when called or whatever the boring behavior is, if you have a ball and they're really into fetch, I always tell people add sits and downs. If you're going out and playing fetch with your dog and they just got back from training, ask them to sit, ask them to do a down. I already worked on it with them. And this is when we talk about how we don't have another session of training because we really try to put it in fun ways so it doesn't feel like it's training for the dog. So we'll ask them to sit before throwing the ball, and it's just little ways of getting those sits and downs in and working on impulse control, so a dog can do behaviors that you'd want them to do in a high stress environment. So now when we go out on a walk and there's a dog barking at you and I ask you to sit, you're mostly going to sit because you already worked on that muscle of impulse control when I asked you to sit with the ball.
Yep. So it's a super important method to use when you're training dogs. And it, like I say, it's a method that's really not too invasive. And you don't have to use a lot of pressure or anything like that because the more likely behavior is going to be reinforcing the less likely behavior.
And it might take them a long time to figure that out. Kind of going briefly back to Lucy, which is the resource guarding dog that we've been working on and talking about a lot. I did that with her a lot. And she's such a pointer, which is they have this one-tracked mind. When I first started doing it, she completely shut down on me. Like she could not put the pieces together because she gets such an id that she eventually would just be like, well, I don't know how to do it. So then she would start doing other behaviors to try to get this
shut down.
Or shutting down
is learned irrelevance, not learned irrelevance, learned helplessness.
Yes.
Right. So if they can't figure out over and over again what you want, and you're applying, particularly if you're applying a correction and they don't understand what you want, and they keep getting punished, and they don't understand, they're going to shut down.
Yeah.
So and that's literally learned helplessness. They either shut down or they just do whatever because they just don't get it. So I'm just going to do whatever. We see that a lot with clients that come in.
And it was tricky with her because and this is where like I learn a lot, because it wasn't like coming easy to her, even though she's an intelligent dog and this should come really easy to her, especially since she's a field work dog too. You think adding something to it would, especially like a stool that she has to sit on, that's what they're supposed to do, is like sit in a place, and then you shoot the duck, and then you tell them watch, and then they watch where it lands, and then you say find, and then they release and go get the duck that you just shot.
That's pre-mac principle. Go ahead.
And so I was trying to implement stuff like that, but instead of a duck, it being the ball, and she would do it without the stool, and then when I would implement the stool, she would completely shut down.
Yeah, so adding like a different layer.
Yeah,
really, she couldn't sort of see her way around that. That was really
interesting,
fascinating, and I think part of it is breed, but also part of it was her lack of stimulation and learning during a really important first year of her life.
Yep.
You know, so like her parts of her brain just don't work because of that. They weren't wired during that really important first year.
I was like, okay, like I have to break this down more. So like I completely took the stool away and I replaced it with like a mat. She still couldn't do it.
Yeah, it's so fascinating.
It was so weird. And it was the same behavior. All it is she's on a mat instead of on grass. And then instead of doing a sit, I would ask her for a down because she knew what down was. And then we did that for a few days. And then I started doing the mat and then switching between sit and down, which she had a hard time switching between the two. So I either had to stick with down or sit. And then it's like the cobwebs start to open of just like, oh, so if I actually turn my ears on and listen to what you're saying, even if it's a sit or a down or a mat or a stool, I still get what I want.
That's also generalizing too, right?
Yeah, and they have such a hard time, especially like pointers. They really, in my opinion, have done a disjustice to the breed of making their brains not malleable enough to be able to like add new behaviors in and be able to like take them out of that id or that primitive state and be able to do these very nuanced behaviors.
Yeah, and I think that people think that dogs generalize, and they really don't.
They do not at all.
And they're always shocked when they have a 2-year-old dog who's never had an accident in the house, and they take that dog to a friend's house, and the dog pees on the floor. And they're like, what the hell? This dog is so beautifully housebroken. Why is this happening? It's because dogs don't generalize. So in order to truly teach a behavior, you have to do it in multiple environments so that they generalize the behavior rather than it's only behavior in this one environment. And that's really what you're seeing with Lucy, right?
Yeah.
It's you want the same behavior no matter what surface you're on. And she wasn't able to generalize that, even though it seemed like such a subtle change for us. It was enough of a change for her to go, I don't know what you want.
Yeah. I mean, to not even be interested in the ball. Like she just like
really fascinating.
She would like completely turn off, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to like suppress, like I don't want this to become a negative thing, but I also don't want to reward this behavior. So a lot of the times it would just be like, okay, I
haven't worked with enough pointers to know whether that's a pointer thing or, like I say, that was a result of her lack of stimulation in the first year of her life.
The reason I do say this, and I agree with you, I don't think we have enough experiences with pointers, but it was very similar to that pointer that Bruno we had. Like the first, it was the same thing.
How about Dutch? Dutch is a pointer. Did you see any of that in him?
Dutch is different because of his bloodlines. I think we established that because I thought he was very pointer, and I was like, he's so weird, like he's so good and so respectful. Yeah. So I really love the pointer breed, but it's the id that turns on, and they can't, like the lizard brain that turns on, they can't come back from that. I don't like about them. Which is why I would never own a pointer because it's just not my bag. But Dutch, I was like, I love him so much. I don't know why I love him. He just like he has the
Dutch
same.
Dutch is a wire-haired pointing Griffon, which is also
not a wired-haired pointer. It's different.
Correct. So he's basically a German wire-haired pointer with super low drive, and he's more, whereas German short hair and German wire hair are much higher drive for more intense hunting.
Yeah, so you would bring a pointer or a wired-haired pointer into the field, and you would work them all day to the point where they would not be able to walk at the end of the day.
Right.
Where if you have a wire-haired pointing Griffon, it's like, oh, me and my buddies are going to go drink some beers and hunt.
Right. So he's called the gentleman's hunting dog or something.
Yeah.
So it's more of a.
I'm gonna stick by you.
I have the shotgun cracked open over my arm, walking in the field at a leisurely pace, like you'd see on Downton Abbey, right? More of a low key hunting, which is so they've enhanced different types of drive.
And the interesting is we did a lot of research on him because I just was so flabbergasted.
Because it's that first wire pointing fawn we've ever worked with.
And also, like, he was just so biddable and so nice and so well-tempered. And I mean, this is the only one we've worked with. So, you know, it's a very small pool that essentially
I think he reminded me a lot of Italian Spinonis.
Yes.
Very similar to Spinoni Italiano.
Yeah, definitely. And anyways, and so, and they wanted to work on his recall. They wanted to run him in the woods and him have good recall. So we did the e-collar working with them, which we don't implement until like the last week or the last, like, if it's like sometimes when we'll do like e-collar training, it's like a 4-week board and train, and we implement it in the last week because they really need to understand what's going on. They need to understand yes, no, and all that stuff. So then when we do implement it, we only use it strictly as punishment. We don't use it like some people use it as like a leash correction.
And we don't only use it for a recall.
Yeah. So like if they don't respond to my voice, then it's going to be used as a punishment. No, and then I'm going to hit the e-collar. And that's going to be a harsh leash correction. Otherwise, it's a no. And most of the time, they come back without having to use the e-collar.
But it's not a shock. It's a stim. It's a stim. And it, depending on the dog, it can be a very mild sort of vibration.
And it's just to like
snap them out.
Yeah, just to snap them out of like them hyperfixating on a squirrel or a bird or another dog or whatever it is.
It's a safety thing.
Yeah, it's just like I use it with Twiggy in the woods when we mountain bike because I don't have enough hands to be able to have a leash or all that stuff.
It's a safety thing.
And there's a road right there, and I always get worried she's gonna get spooked and run into the road. Anyways, so we did train him how to do an e-collar training, and I was like, he doesn't even need this. His recall is perfect. And pointers, if you know anything about them, don't have recall. Like Shadow would just take off into the woods, which is our friend's dog, and you wouldn't see him the entire
German
walk.
Short hairs they're not designed to stay with you.
They're designed to go out there and you're shooting birds, and they're just finding all the birds and bringing them back. Where like because he's a leisure, he's supposed to be with you. So he's really good off leash because they've been bred to be with you. So, this is why we're very much like, if you want a very particular behavior, like do research and find a dog that you like to do those things with, because it's going to be 10 times easier. Chances are there's a dog that
fits what you want. But I think we're getting in the weeds. Let's go back.
Sorry.
I know you love Dutch.
I do. And he's coming back. Anyways, sorry.
So somatic displacement. So that would be shaking it off or scratching, right? The technical name for shaking it off is somatic displacement. So, literally shaking something off comes from the animal world, dogs in particular, when they're anxious about something and they literally will shake, and you're like, oh, that's good. So we always mark that.
And then clients are like, why did you mark it? And then we have to like break it down. Like, so anytime, like, let's say you have a dog that is reactive on leash.
Go back to the whole Twiggy, Penny, Deacon thing, right?
Okay.
So my guess is when Twiggy walked in between them and redirected Penny, one of those 3 dogs shook.
Deacon shook and Twiggy shook.
Yeah. So that's okay. The situation is over. Let's shake it off and sort of reset our brains to something else.
It's like a reset button.
Right. So I wasn't even there, but I could pretty much guess that at least one of those dogs shook during those rests. So that's looking for your dog shaking things off like that is super important, because if you mark it enough by saying good shake and reward it in that way, when you want your dog to shake something off, you can tell them to shake it off.
Which is such like a weird thing, but we've always done it. Like if they have like a little tiff outside, like if we play fetch with them and then somebody gets the ball and somebody wanted the ball, and then they all come back and they have like a little tiff outside, they all come back to us and we're like, okay, we're not throwing the ball until you guys all shake it. And we literally will stand there and wait until everyone shakes, and then we will begin the game again. Yeah. Which we've always done unconsciously.
So that's a really good thing to look for because it gives you information on the dog's mind where they're at. And it's a good thing to encourage so that when you need it, you can go for it, right?
Yeah. So
Shake
like
it
if like I was saying before, if your dog is like reacting at another dog or passes by a dog that is barking in a yard and they're trying to hold it together, and then after you pass that scary thing or whatever they were like anxious about, they shake it off. I always mark it and then I give them a cookie because I'm like, yeah, I know you held yourself together because that dog was super scary.
Right.
Good job.
If you guys watch your dogs closely, you'll start seeing the shaking, and it's not just I have an itch. It's most of the time it's in reaction to something that's just happened.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to necessarily be a negative thing. It could be a positive thing. It's like I'm super excited. Now I want to downshift. I'm going to give a shake. Another physical symptom or physical sign of that is when a dog takes a deep sigh. You're telling them to go lay down, go lay down. They finally lay down, but they're not in a state of mind where you want them just yet. Yes, they're now stationary, but they're not in that state of mind that you're looking for. And all of a sudden you'll hear...
And a lot of the times...
And that is, now they're suddenly downshifted, and that's the state of mind I was after.
Also, like a combination of that would be when you tell them to lay down and they don't want to lay down, they go into a sphinx. And then when they downshift, they do that breath, and then they go to like a side lay, which is where two legs are hanging out of one side, rather than two legs side to side and like what a sphinx would
because
look
when
like.
we tell a dog to go lay down, we're looking for a state of mind. And the only way to get to that state of mind is to be, one, stationary, laying down stationary, but also downshift psychologically.
And a lot of the times, like once they do downshift, the next time you say, if they get up after that behavior, if you say go lay down, because they already downshift, they'll lay down much quicker than the first 10 minutes that you were working on go lay down, because they already downshifted.
Right. So we're already at over an hour now.
I know. This is like
and I have a whole bunch more, but we're not going to get to them today.
Well,
but I did want to do one more.
A part 1, and we could do a part 2.
Yeah, we can follow up with this in another. But my favorite behavior that has a name is called predatory drift. I think that if you are starting a rock band, particularly heavy metal, predatory drift would be such a great name.
Okay, but you shouldn't be telling people this if eventually Jacob does a band. Because
are you going to start a band called Predatory Drift?
I'll do it.
It's such a good name. It really is.
Really, I just love it. So predatory drift is a play behavior that shifts suddenly into prey-like attack. So we can go back to dog parks and dog daycare. You see two dogs playing very high energy, and all of a sudden one shifts up rather than shifts down, shifts up into a predatory like behavior, state of mind, and then it becomes a predatory. I'm going to now pounce on you and maybe pin you and maybe bite or attack you. Yeah. So it's a shift up rather than a shift down, and it's a shift up into a predatory state of mind, and it can be very dangerous. Very dangerous. And you can see it in a dog-to-dog situation, but you can also see it in a dog-to-human situation where suddenly, rough play outside with your dog and you're going, and they're jumping at you and gently biting your arms, with lots of bite inhibition, can suddenly shift into predatory drift, and now they're actually trying to attack you.
So there was a recent video that I know you watched, and it was this guy playing basketball with his Roddy and some other dog. I don't remember what kind of breed it was. And he was playing basketball, and you can tell like Roddies have that what is the grumble? Yeah. The Roddy grumble.
Yeah, they tend to be quite
They're vocal. Very vocal, and I'm not comfortable with it. But like Ruby was very vocal too, and she wouldn't do anything. Sure. So like I also understand it, but he was being very vocal and very grumbly like Roddies are.
And the guy was dribbling the
ball, and he was hyper fixating on the ball, and I can tell he was getting over aroused, and if I were him, I would have stopped the game. But if you don't know what you're looking at, the dog turned all of a sudden
predatory
had
drift.
predatory drift and attacked his leg and punctured the hell out of this guy's leg.
Yeah.
And wouldn't let go of his leg.
Yeah.
And he had like punched his dog in the face. And so that was him turning on predatory drift.
So that goes from a normal state of mind, right? Even if it's hyper aroused, right? To a lizard brain, right? Where they're checked out. Like when I say upshift, check out into a very instinctual predatory state of mind.
Yeah.
Very, very dangerous. And you need to be careful with high drive dogs with high caliber dogs like shepherds and Rotties and pitties, whatnot, because that predatory drift can seem like it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And for dogs like that, you can't play those games.
Yeah. So like Maya's dog easily can be turned on to predatory drift
With other animals,
animals. And so we don't have him around other animals. And she got a toy from him, and it was like a tug toy, and he like had no concept of having to play with it. And I was like, I think it's kind of a good thing he doesn't have any concept of playing it, because I could see him tugging to the point of getting to predatory drift.
Right.
So the fact that it's like we always talk about, we don't want to turn genes on. And so for him, the fact that like he has no concept of tugging or pulling,
We want to keep it that way.
we want to keep it that way. So I was like, let's not do any tug toys or anything like that. Let's just do with what he knows. Let's not
And
add
people will
anything.
talk about playing tug, and
Yeah.
they'll make online influencers and whatever. They'll make a blanket statement.
Yeah.
Don't play tug with your dog, and they mean that. What they mean by that is it can trigger predatory drift, but you have to know your dog
Yeah,
and the
exactly.
breed. So
Yeah.
I could play tug with 7 out of the 8 of our dogs. I could see it happening to Twiggy. Getting
Yep.
overstimulated and then doing something stupid.
Yep.
Right?
She does.
But the other 7, I'd have no problem. Even Deacon, who can be quite intense and fractious, I would have no problem doing it.
And the thing with Twiggy is, because I know her and she is my dog, I play that game, and when I see it starting to get out of hand,
You stop.
I've worked on it with her, and it's okay, enough, and the game's over, and we don't. And she either takes the toy or I tell her to drop it or whatever. But I do like working that muscle, because I know that she can get there. Luckily, she's small. Luckily, she does not have a very strong
I'm not
jaw.
sure I would encourage you to do that if you had a 110-pound Rottie.
No, exactly. And the reason I do work with her is because this overflows into other things like leash reactivity. So I really try to work on it with other overstimulating
So what you're talking about
things.
is you're working on, we talk about this with our owners all the time.
Yeah.
Working from 0 to 10 and 10 to 0. 0 to 10, 10 to 0.
Is that a name? Is there a name for that?
I don't know. We should we should coin it.
Yeah, we should.
Because again, you're practicing becoming aroused and then downshifting, shifting up, shifting down. And that is a skill that most dogs should know should have experience with and know how to handle.
Because Twiggy can go red really fast. And so I really work on it with her, because I know that she has that struggle, that when she does go red zone, I want her to have easier time to come down to 0.
Right, but
So-
let's have a huge warning
Yes.
right now.
Yeah.
Unless you know what you're doing, we don't encourage this. So
Yeah.
yes, we encourage this with our clients that have sweet, mellow, or
Cavapoos.
silly doodles.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
would not encourage somebody doing that with Dozer. I would not encourage that. Right, Dozer's a Rottie.
And also with Dozer, he has this big ball that he plays with, and
Big hurting ball.
This big hurting ball, and he gets so hyper fixated on it. And then I saw that video of the Roddy going after that guy's leg, and I could see him doing that, not purposely, not maliciously. It's
Predatory
just they
drift.
just turn on. And so then I started using it's a herding stick. It's where you use a stick to like put in between them.
So traditionally, a sheep herder, the person has a crook, right? You've seen, if you're talking about like traditional,
Bo Peep.
yeah, they have a big long staff,
Yes.
usually curly in. That's a herding staff or herding stick, right? And they use that to get in between the herding dog and a sheep. Say if they needed sort of that redirection kind of thing.
Yes.
So I said to you, You're basically using a herding stick.
Yeah. And then I was like, oh yeah, that's totally what I just didn't think, once again, didn't know it had a name. And then
So to be clear, you're not using the stick on the dog.
No. You're using it to block him
Right.
from. A lot of the times there's this whole documentary on Netflix. I forgot what it's called, but it has these herding lines in Australia, and they use actual like rakes. So it has the raking.
So yes, if you're teaching a new border collie, or they were using a different breed in Australia. Yes, a lot of people will use rakes. It's the same concept. It's just a rake is wider, so you have
it's like more of a fan
easier.
to block them, and then you can like move them around.
But in the old days, you would just use a stick.
It's just
to
a
do
stick.
that.
Yeah, and
but
I
again,
just
you're
had a
not
stick.
hitting the dog. You're blocking, using it as a blocking thing.
Yeah.
So what you were doing with Dozer is you were blocking Dozer from the herding ball, so you could separate him from the ball and get him to downshift a little bit.
Which instead of me using my leg, which is what I was doing before, and if he redirects on the stick, it's not a big deal rather than my leg. And he's never done it before.
No, he's a sweet guy, but that doesn't mean it doesn't mean he's not capable.
Yes, he's
and
still
again,
a
we
Rottie.
talk about consequences. If you're doing that with a corgi, I can live with the consequences. If you're doing that and something goes wrong with a Rottie, I'm not sure I want to live with those consequences. So,
Yes, exactly. So to me, I was like, okay, this is a better alternative. And then I also took the ball away for a while because he was getting too excited.
So that is predatory drift, probably my favorite term. I just think it's a cool term.
It is a cool term.
It sounds real badass. Anyway, there's like a whole other page of these.
Yeah, we'll do a part 2 because I
also
really
think
like this.
we talk about the Extinction Burst a lot. But I'm not going to do that, but I also think that would be a good name for a band, Extinction Burst.
Yeah. I think predatory drift is better.
Yeah.
But
All right, we should wind it up. This has been nerd talk, dog nerd talk.
yeah. But also like look for these in your dogs and see if you can see any of these, and like leave us comments.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you point out these, sometimes people think it's specific to their dog, and they don't realize, oh no, that's normal dog behavior. That's universal to all dogs.
Or they've like coined a name for it, and it turns out that there's actually like a definition.
Right. All right, so we should wind it up. Episode 3 in the can already. Okay, so we'll be back for episode 4.
Yep.
We're going to try to get these done once a week. We'll see. All right, guys. We'll see you next time on Dog for Thought. Bye. Dog for Thought is written and hosted by me, Sarah Brown, co-hosted by Sophie Brown, produced, edited, and original music by Jacob Brown. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.